Hello, Fiedelbogen here. To my fellow workers in the vineyard worldwide, greetings. The title of today's talk is Advocacy is a One-Way Street. Yes, the word feminism, just the word alone, establishes a bias inherently. From the very outset, this word insinuates an adversarial relationship between men and women, and naturally draws followers who would bear witness to such a scenario. Unavoidably, it will attract a certain number who feel this adversity with abnormal keenness, often to a great extreme. The speakings and writings of most of the movement's highest thought leaders have had a strongly and consistently anti-male character. One more time, I said anti-male, not simply pro-female. I would call none of these people obscure or marginal to the movement. In fact, they are widely studied and cited. All feminists inherit the intellectual legacy of these thought leaders, who have authored the principal texts of the movement. Its Bible, if you will. Many of these leading figures are over the hill now, and a few are even dead. But their ideas have scattered like spores and taken root in the culture at large. Yes, their spirit marches on, and young ones are rising up thick and fast in the field to take their place and carry on their work in the same proportions as always. So feminism undertakes the especial task of advocating on behalf of women, as the word itself makes plain. If feminism were anything other than advocacy for women, it would require a different name. We should note, for example, that feminism does not call itself masculism. I am not being silly. Feminism advocates expressly on behalf of women, and it does so under an appellative that has much in common with a flag or a banner. Repeat the word slowly and steadily, drawing out the syllables for sake of emphasis.
Feminism. Feminism.
Keep saying it until it starts sounding creepy. Almost any project that the women's movement undertakes in the realm of political action could just as well sail under its own colors. It need not be branded or co-branded as feminism. But typically it is, and that's the whole point. Feminism gathers all the sticks into a bundle in the grip of a unified theory and praxis. Yes, it is accurate to assert that feminism advocates on behalf of women. That much is beyond dispute. Feminism occupies itself unstintingly on a highly creative and ferret-like quest for new forms of so-called gender inequality, be these real, imagined, or simply defined into existence, and then presses these discoveries into the service of the movement while seeding the concept into the cultural mindscape at large. Feminism does this unceasingly, and it can never stop, for if it did, it would instantly collapse and disappear. That is why feminism cannot and will not conclude its business and call it a day. It must be shut down forcefully by an outside agency, a non-feminist agency. I cannot stress highly enough that feminism is an advocacy movement. Advocate is another word for lawyer, and remember what a lawyer does. Anything he can to advance his client's cause. An advocate is professionally one-sided. He does not try to paint a balanced picture, nor does feminism try to paint a balanced picture of the relationship between men and women. Women constitute half the human race. The phrase women's advocacy spotlights women as a class, which in turn implies, be it even mildly, an adversarial relationship with the other half, namely the male half. Feminism establishes men and women as separate political power blocks, as I have said many times. A thoroughbred feminist identifies foremost as female, and only secondarily as human. In consequence, all merely human aspects of earthly experience, what I would style the ecumenical human condition, undergo refraction through the lens of the female experience. The terms feminism and women's advocacy engender a tension in our language, and since language is a pretty big part of life, that tension spreads into the rest of life also. The word feminism is divisive. One is entitled to wonder how a social movement with a gender-specific title could ever be anything other than sexist. That is, if I may be permitted to use a feminist word for the sake of illustration. The very notion of women's advocacy packs an implied baggage of aggrievement and entitlement. Overall, it endows women with a conviction of being somehow special, as if their particular troubles were of a nature to set them apart from the turmoil of humanity as a whole. Whether such conviction has aught valid or sustainable about it should be a matter for open inquiry by all who might feel the weight of it in their lives. They have a natural right to such inquiry. Feelbogen. Out, 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 out.